that we are beggars, that we are being dealt with out of generation. I think it's important in the new era that the world is in now that there should be a good measure of equality among sovereign nations. You know, recently 7 African countries decided to go and put a call for peace to Ukraine and to Russia. And we raised a number of issues. Zambia was represented, Comoros was represented, Republic of Congo was represented, Senegal was represented, Uganda, as well as South Africa. So we were all represented, and Egypt as well. So we were all at one, that even as we were going to address an issue of the war which has had a negative impact on the African continent, which is the rise in prices for food, rise in prices for fertilizers, we were clear that we are not going there as beggars. We are not going to ask for a favor to both Ukraine and Russia. We were going there to say, open up the Black Sea Channel so that the grains and the fertilizers should go into the world market. So we were not on a begging mission, even as we are in great need as a continent and all that. That should go to demonstrate that Africa should never be seen as a continent that needs generosity. We want to be treated as equals. Even in the multilateral institutions, we want to be treated as equals. And if our equity is at a low ebb, there must be ways in which that can be addressed. To us, this is very important. Our sovereignty is one of the things that we hold on dearly to. And we demonstrated that very clearly to both President Zelensky and to President Putin when it came to this issue, even as there were suggestions that, yes, we can donate this, we can donate that. We said, we want you to release these grains and fertilizers to the world market so that the world can trade in these commodities and other issues we can handle in a different way. I wanted to make that point so that it should be understood where Africa has evolved up to. We want to be key players on the world stage, want to be key players even in the financial markets and in the MDBs. Now, these are the positive things. I do, Mr. President Macron, want us to address another issue which to us is a bit of a negative. You will have heard President Sisi talking about the 100 billion that was promised in Paris. President Sassou Nguesso yesterday as well also spoke about it at the dinner. Now there is that issue that a number of the commitments that have been made have not really been fully lived up to. But before I get into details, let me immediately say that we recognize the many initiatives that have been put on the table, and a number of countries here have done so. Germany has gone out of the way to put a number of initiatives, and the US has also done a number of things. But there have been times when we felt like we were beggars. I played a key role as chair of the African Union during the COVID period. We felt like we were beggars when it came to vaccine availability, when we felt we needed access to vaccines, and the Northern Hemisphere countries had bought all the vaccines in the world, and they were hogging them. And they didn't want to release them at the time when we needed them most. And we felt like we were begging. And at times it felt like they would just be droppings from the table, that yes, we will give you that and that. And let me tell you something that generated a lot of resentment. We resented that, and it got worse when we said we want to manufacture our own vaccines. And when we went to the WTO, there was a lot of resistance, enormous resistance. And we kept saying, what is more important, life or profits by your big pharmaceutical companies? And that too, I must tell you now, generated and deepened that disappointment and resentment on our part, because we felt like life in the Northern Hemisphere is much more important than life in the global South. And these are issues that need to be addressed. And I'm glad that we are all seated here like this, because we've got to get to the heart of these matters and address them. Now, I come to promises that have been made. And Chancellor Scholz was saying, we've got to walk the talk. Yes, we want to see the talk being walked. President Sassou Nguesso yesterday said at the dinner, $100 billion was promised per year. And he was saying, I've never seen that. And many of us will testify that that $100 billion has never really been made available. And this should stand out as something that needs to be addressed. Because sometimes we sit at conferences like this and say, yes, we'll make this available, and we believe you. We believe you, but now the tire must hit the tar.
This is Morning Crossfire.
We'll be back.
There's a place where you can get it all trending.
People are dropping on their vehicle and running, leaving their vehicle.
A place where you can air your views.
I want to report the situation.
Only on your #1 station for talk.
This is not the way. We cannot continue like this.
95.1 Nigeria Info. Abuja. Let's talk.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
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 This is Nigeria Info.
Western powers means and oftentimes we also do hear this promise and we wonder, not do anything with it or what exactly is going on. But look at the concluding part of his views on.
Very practical. President Sassou Nguesso released it yesterday. He said he would be happy if flowing from this summit we do something very practical on the infrastructure side. Having said that 600 people in Africa do have electricity, and yet we've got all the to generate electricity, particularly the mighty Congo River, and that there have been plans to build a number of power stations that will generate, in my calculation, up to 70,000 megawatts. And he said, and want to speak in sort of this proposal, to prove that these summits are not summits where we talk, flow from the Paris COP as well as others. Let us now put money on the table and collectively say we are to address this mega project. A mega project which will in the end generate electricity for up to 12, 15 African countries all at one go. And this is a project that I think the multilateral development banks here working together, the call that you've made, President Macron, can actually fund. And where, as we from this, we should be able to say the Niger Dam is now going to be developed to the Inga Power Station, the one that President Sassou Nguesso mentioned, and this one as well. If we can do that, then as Africans will now be convinced that these summits are really meaningful. We will now go home and say, you know what, it's worthwhile going to these summits, coming to Europe and to listen to all the places because they are willing to earn the promises. This is what President Macron, I believe, will be one of the most important outcomes. The reform of the financial architecture as well as a practical project, infrastructure project that's going to add a lot of value. President Sisi and I have been talking about a railway from Cape Town to Cairo for years. We leave that for the next summit, but the one on generating electricity and build power stations on Inga Dam is most important. That is immediate, that I believe needs to be addressed now. Let's get that done, and then we will be convinced that you are serious.
This is more Crossfire.
You kind of get the full picture, right? Well, that's pretty much of what President Ramaphosa of South Africa had to say. It was a summit on a new financing pact. That's what we're aiming for. But then, it's certainly quite a number of issues that you can't still freely move within countries as Western powers when you don't do your promises. So those promises seems to be aiding every other person apart from the people who are expecting them to happen. That's the reality on ground. And makes the dynamics of the Niger coup a little bit different from what many people are comfortable with. It's totally different, yeah? Yes, it is. Well, let's get you into this and listen to what you say about this. In the meantime, let me one Nigerian news with you. Listen to this.
What's next to you? Are you coming in as a minister or something?
I was minister 20 years ago. I was able to be the minister 20 years ago and Director General BPE 4 years earlier than that. And I'm 63. I'll be 63 a week from today. And quite frankly, I think that Nigeria has such a pool of talented young people that can do whatever job that may be offered to me. I have a pool of these people, many that I have worked with, many mentored over the years, and have told Asiwaju several times there is hardly an assignment that you will offer me cannot get you a better, younger person. Of course, he doesn't agree. It's an ongoing discussion, but because the election is not yet. My preference, by the grace of God, is 107 days from now, hand over, and I take a break, complete my PhD. I've been pursuing a PhD in government public policy, University of Maastricht, the Netherlands. In fact, I used to be in the university now. This is the research week, but I couldn't make it because of the situation of the country.
This is Morning Crossfire.
So, I'm wondering whether you'll be up to anything. It's just the first speech there. I think that's the song that I really wanted to share with you. Let's back to the phone lines and listen to you. That was Erifai from Kano State. For those who are wondering, he didn't get his ministerial slot, so what will he do? Go back to class. Good morning to you. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Yes, welcome.
I'm good, and you?
Very.
How was your weekend? Windows.
Oh, good to have you on, Mike.
All right. Having listened to President Ramaphosa and William Ruto, the summary for me is they should tell the Western world, France, America, give us economic independence. Let us manage, let us harness, collect, manage, and administer whichever resources we have as an Africa and as each sovereign nation say. That is the only way the African leaders who are thinking in this direction can go. Femi, let me also remind you, this conversation has been on since the time of Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. Julius Nyerere. They've been having this conversation. The West doesn't come together because they know our potential. And so, in finally, because of time here, the only way, like my principal when he was alive, Professor Brahimi Abraham said, NEPAD, he put together new economic partnership for Africa's development, but they changed it to new partnership for Africa's development. They removed the economy out of it. If they give you political independence without economic independence, do nothing. That's what Africa and Africans are experiencing.
Good morning. Thanks for your view. Economic independence. And yes, by the way, let me people might have noticed I've not read WhatsApp messages. I had a challenge with the WhatsApp line earlier today, so the messages are dropping now. Good morning to you. Come to the show. Yes, good to connect with you. That is stay true. Okay, what? Good morning. Yes, good to connect with you. All right, Ahmed, let's hear you.
People are saying that I don't want to become a minister. Erifai doesn't want. He wants back to school. He's coming to do a job for us in Niger. Erifai is not coming to start our money. He said, he has done a lot for Nigeria. When he was minister in the FCC, he cannot. No any minister after him has come to do anything like him. So people are saying this and that. He said, what of Wiki? He say more than what he said. He can say more than what the Erifai said. It's all about the political, sentimental types of Nigeria. Erifai, we love you. We want you to come back and repair Nigeria. You did it before, you can do it again. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your view about that. Okay, good morning to you.
World Club Media MLA, I remember myself, Abubakar Ali, speaking calling from PW Kubwa. God continue to bless you, World Club Dr. Femi MLA, playing that FSAP, that audio of Nasra Erifai. On Friday, somebody could just arrive platform that I'm lying that Erifai is not pursuing any degree. Kai, Femi, I with money, I will just fool your tank this morning. World Club also
Please have money. Somebody help him borrow him money so he can fool my tank.
Yes. What kind of family MLA in a situation whereby in the household the elder is not taking responsibility, his youngest, including the tolders, are trying to family. Is it not shame? Is it not shame for the big one? Look at this young African country. They are trying to liberate themselves from of imperialism and capitalism, from the grips of neo-colonialism. In fact, they are trying to do what I call as reverse colonization. But big brother, you have not taken any. Look at how these guys are negotiating on behalf of their country and on behalf of Africa. Imagine 70,000 megawatts. Oh la la la, ooh la la. Honestly, Nigeria must wake up.
From Johannesburg to Cairo, the real line. I can imagine what that would mean.
Imagine what 70,000 will do to our GDP, to security. Oh my goodness, Nigeria must wake up.
Okay.
If not, this small overshadow also.
Oh, okay. No, Allah. Thank you for your
Thank you, bless us. God bless all. Thank you, sir.
Amen. Okay, good morning to you. Or South Africa, at least more though. Good morning to you. How are you on?
Good morning. Good morning.
Sir.
My name is David.
David.
I'm an international expert. I'm concerned how...
Sorry, you said you're an expert of what?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I'm a legal expert. And I'm concerned about how narratives are pushed out there without having correlation of what exactly the issue with why France will want an intervention in Niger. Now, I think colonialism first and foremost in the mind. It's not an real actual thing. It's in the mind. And countries that learn it away from neo-colonial mentality have done well like Rwanda. Now, it's big throw blame. The France has done this, France is being vilified, in the media. And by the way, the media the conversation just played with airline was about 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Because I heard him clearly say in 108 days no windover. And it's been reported the weekend, 3-4 days that that is the situation now. So it doesn't. And that's
So you don't think it's still pursuing PhD because it said it 4 months ago, or I'm trying to get the point.
Yeah. So what we're driving at is, if you say France is responsible for the drinking of Niger, that's it has to be on ground. Niger went to France to burn.
Yes.
They set parameters of economic classification with France. They is owing France several billions of dollars. So if France sitting down is like, I've given this man money, he says he's going to work, he wants to buy fuel to drive his charter vehicle from A to point B, and I see him branch sell to do something else, I should get upset. That's exactly what's happening. You're setting the country several decades back. The decision, no matter how popular it is the wrong decision. Now, from 1999 to date, we've had democratically elected government here in Nigeria that have done terrible. Now, at every point in their lowest, God forbid, if they are doing military coup, there will be jubilation in the street till now. That doesn't mean it is a thing. You're setting the, we all agree, international scholars agree, that for every time there is a coup, there's a 10 years rewind back.
So let me jump in for a moment. I like the point of view of the argument. The Nigeria went to borrow money from France and set the parameters of that borrowing. And I agree with you. There's no gap about that. But do you also read about a year or two ago, they were talking about trying to remove some of those parameters to say, oh, we're not meeting up. We can't go in this direction. The reality that we're facing is different. Do you remember the Greek crisis when it went to borrow money as well? Do you remember what happened?
International platform.
No, hold on. Hold on for a moment. I didn't listen to you, so let's get the point out. With regard, you remember when Greece went to money, and at some point they started to say, "Oh, we can't pay up based on those terms that are set out." Is there anything wrong with it? I'm not for coup, by the way. I'm not for military, by the way. Just to be clear on that.
No, at no point. The good thing about international, debt and debt forgiveness and renegotiating of debt is that it's the borrower that has the, not the lender.
So how much do you think Western powers are Niger now?
Have you heard on any fora where Niger or any other African country says that we want to renegotiate finance our debt? Unfortunately, that we want to pay 20% of our income on a monthly basis as against 40%. And the lending national agency says no. What African countries, if you listen to Ruto carefully, African countries were saying was that, look, put a pause, or what we did, put a pause on our debt. Then in 30 years' time, I can start repaying. In other words, my government in this time don't have any obligation to pay. Let's Let's keep it to the next generation. It was not the
How does that even sound? How does that sound to you? When we do say something like next generation to you, that means unborn children are already dead before. So that's what that sounds like to me.
country, America, debtor in the world.
Yes, I know. They're able to pay off.
It's the second biggest debtor in the world. No, they are yet
But do they need to pay?
debt-free.
Yes, do they need to pay? Do they have servicing systems to that? You know, it's when you have solid infrastructure, for example, and I mean to disrespect your view on this. I think you made a brilliant point. But don't also miss out. It is when somebody is eating from hand to mouth and it comes to you to say, oh, I want 100 million naira. You look at what they are, yes, to borrow. Right?
No, I can't give you 100 million.
Why? Why give the person 100 million?
1 million.
Why? Why 1 million? Why not 100 million? Why?
You can't go carrying 4 nights. You can't go drinking all the free. You can't go living your life of your means.
So don't you think?
If the U.S. is saying, we want to give Nigeria $20 billion facility to help with your infrastructure with refining, to help with your infrastructure with power, you cannot have a bloated man.
So don't you think trouble anyone that every time a government makes a deal on behalf of the next generation, and that's what almost a good number of the African deals look like. But unfortunately, I've got to go because I have a guest with me. But I would love if you call me to.
One of these days.
Please do.
Yes, but this is the first time I'm calling you.
So do you mind sending me a WhatsApp message? I'd like to take your number and let's do it live in the studio. Send me a WhatsApp message. Your name again, please.
My name is David.
David, looking forward to your message. Let's take this up, okay? All right, thanks, brother.
Have a nice day.
Good, and you too. Brilliant. I love very contradictory views. It makes a lot of sense. Then there are also gaps in line of time. You, my comfort is here to comfort us this very morning. Welcome. Good morning to you. Welcome. Take your views on as we go to Shams.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The conversation.
This is Nigeria Info.